the distinguished members of the Common Council, elected and appointed officials who are here this evening, Senator Bizzarro, department heads, city employees, and most importantly, my fellow New Britain residents, I come before you tonight to deliver my 6th State of the City address. Oftentimes, these speeches are used to simply recite a laundry list of accomplishments from the previous year and to provide assurance that the state of the city is strong, when, in reality, things may not be that rosy. To be sure, we do have much to be proud of, and I will spend the majority of the time this evening highlighting many projects, some complete, some ongoing, some that have taken years to put together, that are making the city better and stronger. But I also intend to be honest with you about what it takes to run a city like New Britain, and what it takes to deliver the services our residents need and demand, and quite frankly, what it costs. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of our city is fragile. Over the past 6 years, we have pulled ourselves back from the brink of bankruptcy, but by no means has that danger passed. Last year, we executed a large restructuring of our financial obligations and have continued to exercise conservative budgeting practices and strong fiscal controls to provide stability. Unfortunately, because of some, the timing of that restructuring was delayed, and the ability to create an additional $5 million of budget flex was squandered, making our jobs all the more difficult in this year's budget. At the same time, the headwinds created by the perpetual budget crisis facing the state have resulted in a steady decline of available aid and grants. The governor's proposed budget slightly decreases our municipal aid from last year, and in addition, several proposals will create new and large obligations, such as making us responsible for a percentage of the teacher's retirement pension costs, plus an additional $1.6 million in the municipal employee retirement system contribution. When our grand list was finalized in January, it showed an increase of 1.17%, an approximate increase of about $1.5 million in new tax revenue. But once adjustments are made after appeals, I expect that number to more realistically be around $800,000. Between reductions in state funding, the imposition of new expenditures from the state, and the year-over-year contractual increases in labor and service costs, I don't believe the increase in the grand list alone will be sufficient to absorb these new financial realities. So we must continue to be creative in finding new revenues, while at the same time controlling those expenditures. Our partnership with Tax Management Associates has helped our assessor's office audit more than 30 delinquent personal property tax accounts, adding $70,000 in potential new tax revenue. Once all of those delinquent accounts are audited, we have the chance to add more than $823,000 in new annual revenues. But furthermore, we've contracted with another company called TaxServe to collect over 1,000 delinquent property and motor vehicle tax accounts. So if you haven't paid your car taxes, pay up. I promise you that we are looking under every stone to try to find additional revenues. From an expenditure standpoint, after 6 years of budgeting, we've truly cut down to the bone. That is not to say I won't be going line by line with every department head as I assemble my budget. I am. But it does mean that there are no easy answers. We are a city that is 13.3 square miles, 98% of which is developed, and 49% of which is non-taxable. So just so we're clear, to fund a $240 million annual budget, we are only able to raise revenue from 6.5 square miles of businesses and residents. At the same time, we have the unique pressures of being an urban center surrounded by suburban and rural communities. When someone needs a hospital, they come here. When someone needs state services, they come here. When they need treatment for addiction services, for the indigent, for the homeless, they come here. That's on top of regular services that we already provide and that our residents deserve, like schools, roads, fire, police, water, sewer, trash. The list goes on. It's the price we pay for being a city, and it requires proactive, strong, and consistent management day to day to keep it in balance. At a time when our residents are facing a host of new state taxes and tolls on the highways, I'm doing everything in my power to compose a budget that will not ask any more of our residents. But let's be real. And I'm speaking to the ever-growing list of people who are coming to the city asking for more and more money, looking for additional funding. The fact is that right now, we simply don't have enough new revenue to offset increases in existing expenditures. I mentioned that it takes strong management to keep New Britain moving forward each day. And as CEO of this city, I am blessed to have a team of department heads who help me provide it. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge them, because I could stand up here for an hour talking about each department's individual successes in the past year, and truly it is too long a list. So to each of you in the personnel departments that you lead, on behalf of our residents, I thank you, and thank you for being here tonight. Now I have to embarrass a few. Chief Ortiz, stand up. At this time last year, oh no, you keep standing. Because at this time last year, I was in the process of completing the search for a new fire chief. And tonight, I can confidently stand in front of you and say that our new chief, Raul Ortiz, is the right and the best man for the job. Over the course of the past year, Chief Ortiz and our fire department have literally been tested by fire. And today, that department is running better than it has in a very long time. Recently, the department welcomed 8 new recruits and commissioned 3 new engines. We are also in the process of engaging a design team to help us upgrade and refurbish our firehouses to 21st century standards that New Britain can be proud of. Thank you, Chief, and thank you to all of New Britain's bravest. At the police department, leadership has also changed. In January, we said goodbye to our beloved Chief, Jim Wardwell, and welcomed an interim, homegrown leadership team of Acting Chief Chris Shute and Acting Deputy Chief Jeanette Porter-Latine. Your turn to stand. Both of them walked the beat in our North Oak neighborhood early in their careers, have devoted their adult lives to making New Britain a safer community, and have worked hard with honor to accomplish their professional goals. I would also be remiss if I didn't point out that having earned the title of Acting Deputy Chief, Jeanette Porter-Latine has shattered another glass ceiling, becoming the highest-ranking woman in the department's 148-year history. Next week, I'll be leading interviews for a permanent chief of police. No pressure, Shute. And I am excited to announce that decision and that choice to the Common Council at our next meeting. The police department now has 154 sworn officers, and we're continuing to seek out qualified candidates to increase the force. So if you or any one of you know of someone who is interested in applying to join the best police department in the state of Connecticut, please apply online at policeapp.com. Thank you to our chiefs. Thank you, Acting Chief Shute. And thank you to all our men and women in blue. That's all for the embarrassing stuff. Sorry, everybody else. You do a great job. Earlier, I referenced the increase in our grain list, and that represents 5 straight years of positive economic growth after stagnation and decline. Existing businesses and manufacturers are investing in their operations, while new businesses are moving in. Last year, we welcomed over 24 new businesses, including our second brewery, and saw the addition of 150 new jobs to the community. Unemployment in New Britain for 2018 was down to 4.3%. That's the lowest it's been in 7 years. More than $4 million worth of expansions have been completed by existing firms like Admiral Machine, K&R Grinding, Easy Welding, and John Boyle and Company. Several businesses celebrated major milestones last year. The 175th anniversary of Stanley Works, the 100th anniversary of Springbrook Ice and Fuel, and the 30th anniversary of Admiral Machine. I cannot stress enough the importance of these legacy businesses and to our community. Not only do they drive Grandless growth, but they are also integral in supporting community organizations and initiatives. And they are true corporate partners in making the city a better place. We value them, and we certainly need to keep them around. Our downtown continues to grow. In December, CMHA moved 100 employees into the Plaza building. 222 Main Street has been sold, and its original facade has been revealed for the first time since the 1960s. The former Burritt Bank building has also been sold to a new owner. We've had new businesses open up all up and down West Main Street, and we anticipate the arrival of a new deli at 2 Main Street next weekend. Charter Oak College will also soon be calling downtown New Britain home to its 75 employees, where renovations at the CCSU ITBD building are currently underway. We're going to run out of parking spaces in that Chesney parking garage soon. In July, we formally announced one of the most exciting and game-changing developments to ever happen in New Britain, the Energy and Innovation Park at the old Stanley Works site. This billion-dollar project has been years in the making and will transform the city, bringing almost 3,000 highly skilled jobs and a projected $45 million in new tax revenue over the years. Phase 1 is currently underway with the creation of the world's largest indoor fuel cell installation expected to be complete later this year. Over the next decade, they will become the city's top taxpayer. Those are the types of developments that we need to go after in order to sustain. On Columbus Boulevard, the foundation has been poured and steel beams are going up for the first phase of the $58 million, 148-unit Columbus Commons mixed-use development on the site of our old police station, which is directly across from the Fast Track Terminal. This project is a catalyst for a new wave of activity and interest in our downtown area and new residents, which will make it a reality. We are truly doing our best to make New Britain, to market New Britain to the entire state. It may come as a surprise, but much of the heavy lifting in bringing this development to town is the result of a committed team that comprise our transit-oriented development and our marketing work groups. Bill Carroll and our economic development team are literally running in 5 different directions every day, growing and managing our relationships with businesses, always pushing forward and doing their best to land new development and try to increase tax revenues. 2 years after the official launch of our Experience the New marketing campaign, we are continuing outreach to visitors and developers alike. I'd like to thank Billy, Dave Huck, Kenny Malinowski, Mark Moriarty, Kim Valanti, and Paul Amarone, who do so much with such few resources. These 2 plans are absolutely critical to the long-term success of our city, and I thank you for your hard work on them. On the public works front, all you have to do is take a drive through downtown to see the progress and the accomplishments as our Complete Streets Master Plan truly comes together. The safety improvements on Columbus Boulevard, including the addition of the new roundabout and reconfigured bus stops, have been completed. Work has now shifted to Phase 5 with the rehabilitation and redesign of the Main Street Bridge, along with massive structural supports that are happening with it. It will soon be known as the Beehive Bridge. Construction is on schedule to be completed with that later this summer. And I'm also happy to report that Phases 6 and 7 of those Complete Street Master Plans are also fully funded, giving the department another 2 years, maybe 3, of projects to complete. Good luck, Mark. In 2018, we spent a total of $1.1 million to pave several miles of 11 streets through our annual paving program. And additionally, our public works team crack sealed more than 10 miles of roadway across all parts of the community. The strategic maintenance helps to prolong the life of our road infrastructure, and it's important that we continue to put resources towards it. We're also reducing the size of our carbon footprint. Our fleet has been reduced by 10%, and much has been replaced with newer, more efficient vehicles. Since 2014, fuel consumption by the city's fleet has decreased by 25%, saving thousands in fuel costs. These efforts are part of our ongoing Smart City initiative, which is aimed at creating energy savings and reducing our impact on the environment. If you haven't yet read the plan, I would most certainly encourage you to do so. On May 23rd, we broke ground at Smalley Elementary School for its $53 million city finance renovation that will modernize this North Oak area school and provide more classroom space and expand parking. The project is on track to finish in time for the first day of school this fall. Fingers crossed for it being under budget, too. City Hall continues to be aggressive in seeking out grant opportunities to make investments of our own. In particular, the Public Works Department and the Department of Community Development have leveraged millions of dollars from state and federal programs for redevelopment of our streets and brownfield sites. As I said before, many of these grants are coming to an end or being significantly scaled back, so the opportunities are fleeting, and we are making the most of what's left. We are also ahead of the pack among municipalities in Connecticut in developing and executing a strategy to take advantage of the new federal Opportunity Zone legislation. I created an Opportunity Zone work group, and together we have created a new website, newbritonopportunityyzone.com, and produced an Opportunity Zone toolkit for developers looking to invest in these projects. We are actively engaging investors to look at 3 areas in town that have been designated. There is a high level of competition among cities for these projects, and we are putting ourselves most certainly in a leading position. We are going after blight and holding absentee landlords accountable. More than 1,500 complaints were inspected and pursued in 2018. Last April, the Quonset hut on Slater Road, long an eyesore, was torn down and is ripe for development. Other blighted buildings have been demolished, helping to jumpstart much-needed change. these efforts will most certainly continue. New Britain is a community with tremendous compassion. In November, with the assistance of the Chief State's Attorney's Office and health service providers, we launched the HOPE Initiative as a way to get individuals struggling with heroin and opioid addiction connected to the services that they need for recovery. So far, we've assisted 24 individuals, 4 of whom took it upon themselves to approach the police for help and were not arrested, except brought to treatment. In January, we created the New Britain Opioid Task Force to take an even more comprehensive approach to tackling this crisis. New Britain has the 3rd highest rate of opioid-related deaths in the state. That is very scary. In the coming months, we'll be rolling out a new public education campaign. We'll be hosting Narcan training seminars and provide other resources to do everything that we can to stop our loved ones from dying. Our goal as a task force is to reduce the opioid mortality rate in New Britain by half by 2021. And finally, I'd like to speak directly to the members of this body. Last year, I challenged each of us, myself included, to try to improve communication, to demonstrate a level of respect to each other, and trust that each of us is here to do the very best that we can for our constituents. The campaign was over, and it was time to do the people's business. For my part, I have tried to be as accessible and as open as possible. But to this very day, there remain some who simply can't let go of politics and seek to obstruct at every possible juncture. And after all the skirmishes that have been had in this chamber in the past year, there has been absolutely no appetite for compromise. It's like the word negotiate doesn't exist. That's not what government is supposed to be. It impedes progress. Much of the accomplishments I discussed earlier, unfortunately, have been done in spite of, rather than in concert with, this body. We need to do a better job at prioritizing more important and more critical issues that are to the well-being of our city. I began this address by saying that the state of our city is fragile. And in my view, the biggest threat to that fragile stability is the continued lack of communication, leadership, and trust. The political games need to end. We are now entering another election year, and my fear is that the rhetoric and posturing will only increase as people fear for their re-elections over doing what is right. My hope is that it doesn't, and if any of you truly want to work together, my door is always open. I cannot say it any more plainly. The success of this city is absolutely contingent on effective and engaged daily management, and for the past 6 years, it's what I've done. And we're doing it with fewer personnel than ever before. So remember all those economic development accomplishments? Our economic development team has 2 people, including the director. Our marketing team is 1 person, and she's not even a city employee. Our assessor's office has viewed over 770 properties last year. They got 4 people that work down there. Our human resources office, who's responsible for over 600 employees and handled thousands of job applications last year alone, is 2 people. You see the pattern here. When I tell you we're doing more with less, I couldn't be more serious. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. People want to invest in cities who invest in themselves, whether it's in our physical infrastructure or human infrastructure. We must continue to make critical investments needed to keep both strong. We've worked so hard over the last 6 years to change the perception of this city. We've turned the page to a new and brighter chapter in our city's history. But, like anything else, without constant attention in the proper areas, we will see our city struggle. We have to work together to get that done. Again, as I deliver this address for the 6th time, there are many uncertainties on the horizon. And the one constant in life is that change is inevitable. We either can be changed by it, or we can have a vision and be the agent of that change. Let us embrace change, be visionary, have the courage to tackle the unknown, and strive to prepare ourselves for a successful future. I will continue to work hard to not merely keep our city afloat, but to keep it sailing toward that horizon, prepared for what may come and poised for future success. God bless you all, and God bless the city of New Britain. Thank you.